This video is powered by Dr. Cinik, one of the world's leading hair transplant centres and a top choice among football superstars. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link below for your free consultation. I'm even thinking about getting it done myself. Welcome along to the Invincible podcast with Julian in the building. Lee, he'll be back next week, isn't it?
Back on Monday, I believe.
Back on Monday. He's been sunning himself. He's been drinking. Every time I look on his Instagram posts, you know what I mean? He looks like he's been having a great time over there in Dubai.
Yeah, that's what he enjoys doing, sitting in the sun.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's all he does. He just lies there from the time the sun comes out to the time it goes down. Just literally lies in the sun. Does
just
nothing.
Burns like a crisp.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't get it.
And he comes back more orange than he goes for.
I don't get it, man.
But he likes the look.
He likes the look?
He likes the Tango Man look.
Yeah, he likes it. No one else does, but he...
Well, look, as long as he likes it, it's fine.
But Lee will be back next week. But you know what's happening on the 14th of June?
Fixtures coming out.
No.
14th of June.
Yeah.
As in next Tuesday?
No, the 14th of June.
What's the date today?
The 13th of June.
Oh, 14th. Transfer window opens.
No.
I thought it did.
That does happen, but that's
Okay.
not specifically what I was talking about.
Oh, they've got that little tournament started.
The Euro started.
started.
Yeah. So I see the importance that you place upon the Euros. Are you not excited about it?
No, I am excited, but as I've always said, I'm more excited about Arsenal. So the first thing that I thought of...
Arsenal players in it, though.
Yeah, Arsenal players are in it, but the first thing I thought of when you said, you know, a particular date in June was the fixtures coming out.
Fixtures will be out next week.
Next Tuesday.
Next week, Tuesday.
At 9 o'clock.
Yep, so I'm looking forward to that to see who Arsenal are going to be facing. I mean, you know, we'll touch on the Euros in a second. When those fixture lists come out, what game are you always... What's the first game you look for?
Spurs.
That's the first game you look for?
That's always the first game I look for. However, now, pretty close second is Manchester City.
Okay. I don't look at that no more, right? I'll tell you what I always look at. The first two things I look at when the fixture lists come out, right, is number one, the start.
Yep.
The first sort of 3-4 games, who have we got? And then the running. Then I always then go and look at the end of the season, what is our running looking like? And I remember immediately last year when I saw our running, I was like, oof, that's a tricky running, man. I saw Man United in there. I saw Villa. I was just like, that running's like, even we had to go away to Spurs, and I was like, that running looks tough. But those are the first, rather than actually looking at, you know, when we're playing Spurs or when we're playing United or when, you know what I mean, I look at the start, if we, you know, to assess if we can get off to a good start, and the end of the season as how's that running going to be? If we were in a good position, what are those run of games look like at the end? That's what I always look at.
Yeah, which is a sensible way of looking at it. I suppose the first thing I'd want to look at now is who we got at the start of the season.
Yeah, first couple of games.
Yeah.
We always remember that, you know, that season when we had Brentford first game, newly promoted team. And that's another thing. I don't like to get newly promoted teams straight away.
No.
Because I always feel that when you get, especially away from home, if you get a newly promoted team straight away from home, the place is bouncing. They're up for it. They've not, you know, I mean, they just give it a go. They don't really care the outcome. And that's when you can see surprises like what we got that time at Brentford.
Yeah, you've only got to look at some of the teams that have actually been relegated that have come straight up from the Championship of how they started. I remember a few years ago, Blackpool, I think they won their first 2 games. And people talking about them as not as European candidates, but you're looking at a team that could end up being mid-table. They got relegated.
Yeah.
But the start they had was phenomenal because what they do, they get carried away with the...
They're up for it.
Yeah, I mean, they're
the fans are up for it. They're up for it. It's just excitement. It's adrenaline. It's the fact that, you know what, it doesn't really matter at this stage whether we win or lose. It's just, you know what I mean? It was just like, it's a free hit almost right at the start of the season for these teams. When you get a newly promoted team now sort of a few months in, it's different because now they might have suffered a few defeats. Now the reality of the Premier League starting to kick in, how difficult it is, how tough it is, you know what I mean? And it changes. And that's when you start to see, you know, those teams starting to lose a lot of games. Luton started well, remember, last season. But then as things started to go on now, the struggles start to begin. So I don't want a newly promoted team right at the start of the season. You know what I mean? I want to get those at least 5-6 games in. And if we are going to get a newly promoted team, I want that newly promoted team at home.
Yeah.
I don't want that newly promoted team away. And obviously, you don't want... Do you really want to get off to a start with one of the big teams? I mean, you know, do you after 3 games want to be going away to City or Chelsea or United or, I don't know.
There is another criteria now that relates to the Euros, because if you get one of the newly promoted teams, and I'll give you a couple of examples, Ipswich have got no players at the Euros. So they're going to have a much easier pre-season.
Much better pre-season. They'll be more prepared.
Yeah, be more prepared. They've got all their players together for a longer period of time. Who's the other teams that are coming up? Southampton.
Yep.
I think they've got one player at the Euros, Bednarek, I think, that plays for Poland.
So they've got a player playing for Scotland as well. I'm not sure, but that might be.
Yeah, I mean, from what I can see, that they've got just one player at the Euros. So again, not only that they've got the euphoria of and the excitement and the adrenaline factor of those first few games, positives for them, they've also had longer to prepare. Yeah.
And then, of course, you know what? You know, the Euros, and you touch on a great point there. And, you know, we look forward to the Euros that's going to be starting on Friday with, you know, England in there. But also, let's not forget, there are 11 Arsenal players at the Euros. 11. I've got a list of those players right here. Of course, Saka and Rice for England.
And Ramsdale.
And Ramsdale for England. You got Havertz for Germany. Kivior with Poland. Trossard with Belgium. Saliba with France, of course. Jorginho with Italy. Kieran Tierney with Scotland. David Raya with Spain. And Alexander Zinchenko with the Ukraine. So that's 11 players away for the Euros. And then actually, you know, next week and the Copa America starts, and you know we know that Gabriel Magalhaes and Gabriel Martinelli are both with the Brazilian squad. Now, I've got to ask the question, will the Euros and Copa America hinder Arsenal's sport? You sort of touched there slightly there. Is this going to affect our pre-season, really sort of club v country in a way? We know these tournaments are starting. They're going to be really good. I'm going to be excited to see our players play in them. But what effect is it going to have on some of our players? Because you could quite, you know, when you look at that list of 13 players, if you include the other tournament, Saka, Rice, Ramsdale for England, you'd expect them to go far down into the tournament. Havertz at Germany. Germany are playing at home. I'd expect them to go far down into the tournament. Kivior, Poland, maybe not. Trossard with Belgium. They'll probably go far down into the tournament. Saliba will go far down into the tournament with France. So will Jorginho with Italy. Tierney probably won't, Scotland, but, you know. Raya with Spain. They'll go far down into it. Zinchenko, of course, with Ukraine probably won't. And then Gabriel Martinelli and Magalhaes, they'll go far down into the Copa America with Brazil. So, you know, out of those 13 players, nearly all of them are probably looking at a long tournament. How does that affect Arsenal's pre-season? Because you've got the tournament, then of course they're going to need a holiday. They ain't had a holiday yet. They've literally come straight from our season, straight into training camps for their country, to play for their country in these tournaments. They've had to be playing friendlies. They've been having to be following the same sort of fitness regimes and all of that. Remember, they're already tired from the season. Then they're going to have these long tournaments with, and you don't forget tournaments, you can pick up injuries. Tournaments are a lot of pressure. I mean, Saka, Declan Rice will be under huge pressure from the English media, as will the guys from Brazil. You know, all these top guys will be. And then after that, you need a break. You need a break from football. You need those players are going to be so worn out because we're like, yo, I just need to get away. I need to think about no football right now. I just need a holiday. I just need to reset. But then Arsenal's pre-season starts, like sort of, you know, a couple of weeks into July. So will some of those players even be there? What's Arsenal's pre-season going to look like? You know, I mean, it's a little bit, listen, as I said, tournaments are great and everything like that. But when you think of how prepared Arsenal were last season for the season, I thought they did that well. They got their signings in early, the main ones in Havertz and Rice. They were in place. They had a full pre-season and hit the ground running. They're not going to have that this year, I don't think.
No, if you look at last season, I was looking back at who they played, and they played Nuremberg, and I think it was on the 13th of July. And if you have a look at the players that were not only in the first 11 that game, but also on the bench, he basically took the whole squad. It was a similar team to the teams that we saw in the US. It was basically the first choice players. He was playing the players who he was planning on playing during the season. So they did. They had a full pre-season. Now, I got tickets recently because I got all excited that Arsenal were playing on the 12th of July, and that was for me going to be the start of pre-season. And one thing I noticed on the tickets, we're playing at Boreham Wood, it says Arsenal 11.
Yeah, there'll be no big first teamers there.
No, there'll be absolutely none, because when you look at the dates of the tournament, I mean, the final of Copa America, it says the 15th because of the time difference over in the US.
15th of July.
But it's actually on the Sunday, and it's the same date, the 14th, as the Euros.
Yeah.
Now, you talk about players needing a holiday. In my mind, I'm seeing, okay, the games, the finals, the worst case scenario, obviously the best case for those players is they get all the way to the final. Then how much holiday do they need? Minimum 2 weeks? I think
at least 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You're not really doing anything, just like 2 weeks. We know, like in work, you know what I mean, you get burnt out, you get fed up, you know what I mean, you've had a long, hard season, those guys, you know what I mean, they need a rest. They need, like, some guy like Saliba has played every game, you know what I mean, these guys need a rest.
Yeah, so
in football.
So the finals are on the 14th. The season starts on the 17th. That's more than a month later. You'd have thought one of the benefits of playing in these tournaments is they're training, so they're at physical fitness. They're at a peak anyway. So they're not having to... How it used to be is these players would go away on holiday, they would drink, they would eat badly. Back in sort of the days when I started watching football, they would come back for pre-season physically not in the state to start the season. And a lot of the early training was basically physical training. And I sort of read stories about what George Graham used to make them do, you know, that they would run up and down Highbury, up and down the stairs. They would go on long runs because the physical fitness had gone, because of the lifestyles that they were leading in the season, in the middle of the season, wasn't conducive to being able to play professional football. Now what you've got is players that even when they're on holiday, they're still watching their diet, they're still going through certain physical fitness regimes, so they're not coming back totally out of shape. So, you know, give them 2 weeks, and then you'd hope that 2 weeks training will get them back to be able to start the season.
So 2 weeks holiday.
Yep.
Doing nothing.
Doing nothing other
chilling
than
out.
Yeah, other than
be careful, but have a drink.
Yep.
Have a drink. Have something to eat. Enjoy time with your family. Totally relax. The first game, the pre-season, is on the 28th of July in America.
Yep.
Right. So if you say got to the end of the tournament, and if I remember rightly, I've seen this before where players that have gone really deep down into the tournament have actually been given an extra week.
Correct. And that's what's
so it's like nearly 3 weeks.
Because there is a precedent to this, and that's when I think it was Euro 20, obviously played in 21, and I looked at, and were you touching it, the game against Brentford, that first game. The tournament finished, the final was on July the 11th, and the game against Brentford, I think, was August the 13th, and Saka was a sub. Didn't come on till the 59th minute. He wasn't injured, obviously, because he was on the bench. When I look back on that, you were quite right. He was given an extra week. So even though it was more than a month before the final to the beginning of the season, they decided that Saka wasn't ready to play that first game of the season. So that showed that the pre-season for him wasn't good enough for him to start, and that wasn't a case of let's it was a big game which Arsenal lost. So you obviously needed him, and also Arsenal were the injuries at that point. I think a few of the players went down with COVID before.
COVID and that, yeah.
There was normally he would be straight in that team, but he still wasn't ready.
And Brentford were very ready for that game, and
Brentford,
obviously hardly any
ready.
players, probably one or two players away for them. And this is the thing: is it going to affect Arsenal's start to the season? I mean, the first pre-season friendly is on the 28th of July, and these are big friendlies. Manchester United, followed by Liverpool. You know what I mean? I mean, these are big friendlies.
Yeah, I mean, they're big.
In America as well, not locally.
Yeah.
In America. No, like you said, the first game over in Nuremberg, what we've done for the last two seasons, where, that's kind of
It's been good.
They've been good games, but they're kind of like, slowly into, start off with a team like Nuremberg, sort of a second division Bundesliga team. Just easier way in against a sort of, no disrespect to them, a lesser opposition. But you're going into that first game against United. I remember when we went to that friendly in New Jersey, tackles were flying in.
Yeah.
Remember?
And it was
Martinez was flying in with big tackles all right throughout the game, and then he took out a couple of our players.
Yep. It was played at a pace. You can't... The friendlies now, they're not friendlies. They are competitive games because the money involved. It's pre-season now is not like it used to be. Pre-season was about running up the stairs at Highbury, playing against the reserves. I don't remember, apart from testimonials, I don't remember any pre-season games that crowds could go to. It was purely to get the team ready for that first game of the season. That's what pre-season was about.
Now it's big business.
Now it's big business because of
and the fans are expecting to see. That's the other thing where Mikel Arteta will be under a lot of pressure here, right? Because those fans in America who are paying like we bought tickets, right?
And I think
$300 plus.
That's an average ticket. When we got the cheapest tickets we could get, it was $200.
Yeah,
for the cheapest tickets.
For the cheapest ticket, right? So you paying like, say you bought a mid ticket, $350. You want to see Saka, you want to see Declan Rice, you want to see the stars. You don't want to see like loads of sort of academy players running out, It's a big, Mikel Arteta going to have a bit of a decision to make on the selection of these sites. Because a lot of players, as I said, 11 players away. 11. So it's a little bit, I know a lot of people will say, it's the same for everybody. And, in pre-season, it'll be the same for United, it'll be the same for Liverpool. But when the season starts, like you just said, it's not the same for every team. If you play an Ipswich right at the beginning.
It's not. And that's why I come back to my answer to the first question was your priorities. Now, in my head, what I'm looking at is next Tuesday at 9 o'clock. And I'll agree with you. Now, the first thing I'm going to be looking at is who have Arsenal got first game of the season. Because what we really want, or what we really want to avoid, is Ipswich away. Or Southampton away that first game, for all the reasons we've discussed. But the other big criteria here, as we touched upon, is that their preparation is going to be a lot easier than Arsenal's preparation. So what we actually want is one of the bigger teams, because as you said, it's the same for everyone. Well, it's not the same for everyone, because the bigger teams, the more successful teams, have got more players at the tournament, and also who are they playing for? So you compare yourself, 11 is a large amount of Arsenal squad that's at the tournament, but a lot of the Arsenal, 3 of them are with England.
And you'd expect England to go far.
Yeah, you've got players playing for all the favourites.
Yeah.
So our key players, of course, the chances are, I think that the round of 16 is something like the end of June. Quarterfinals are the 5th and 6th of July. Semi-finals, I think, are the 9th and 10th of July, and the finals on the 14th. So you'd expect the majority of our better players to be at those tournaments. But then when you look at Manchester City, and I'm using Manchester City as an example because at the moment they're our nearest rivals. They've got 14 players at the Euros, 3 more than us. So it's not for us to complain. We are a victim of our own success, as City are. When you get to the stage we're at, we're going to have teams full of internationals, but not only internationals, but internationals that play for the best teams, because we are one of the elite teams.
We may be having to rely on some of the players that are left behind, that don't go, like, say, a Thomas Partey, if he's still there.
Yep.
Like a Fabio Vieira, if he's still there. Ben White, he's not going, so, I'm just looking through the team, actually. So Ben White won't be going, so he can get a full pre-season. Urian Timber's not going.
Nope.
So
and Jesus is going to be.
Jesus will be there.
Yeah.
Tomiyasu's not going. Obviously, they did the Asia Cup earlier on in the year. And remember, when he was at Asia Cup, he came back injured. We didn't see him for about another month after that. That's the other thing. Martin Odegaard, of course, won't be there. Smith Rowe won't be there either. Fabio Vieira, as I just said, we don't know. Could be out on a loan or something, or is he still there? Like you said, Jesus, Eddie Nketiah, but it looks like he's going to be sold. So it's still the bulk of the main players that are going to be...
Yeah, it's main players, but what you've just illustrated and reinforced is the fact that Arsenal have got the squad to be able to cope in the short term with this because of our depth of squad. Now, maybe it will affect our transfer policies of our outgoings. When's the transfer window end? I think it's after
right at the end of August.
Right at the end of August. So we've still got a couple of weeks we can sell players and maybe keep them in the squad.
Still ain't in the proper pre-season,
for that first few games.
And in the proper pre-season. That's what I'm talking about. The pre-season, I think, is so important. You look at a player like Zinchenko who struggled last season, didn't have a full pre-season.
Yeah, but it's the same for each team. All right, let's take another example.
I don't care about the other teams. I'm about us.
Yeah, but it does matter because we could well be playing one of the other teams that's similarly affected. So let's take Brentford for an example. Brentford don't have the depth of squad that Arsenal have got. They've got 7 players at the Euros. I would say that we're able to cope a lot better with the 11 absences than Brentford can with 7. So if we get Brentford first game of the season and some of their players, granted, I think 4 of them...
They'll be coming home early, though.
Well, not all of them.
Apart from maybe Ivan Toney.
Well, Ivan Toney. When I look at Denmark, 4 of Brentford's 7 players play for Denmark. Now, Denmark have 55-1 to win the tournament. However, the other 3 teams in the group are England, who you'd have to say are probably going to win the group. But the other 2 teams in our group, the odds are a lot higher to win the tournament than Denmark. So you'd have to say that Denmark should progress to the round of 16, which will affect 4 of those 7 players. Then they've still got Ivan Toney.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little bit worried that it's going to disrupt our pre-season. I just remember how well organised and how well structured and was last season. We had some great games. Remember, we had a Community Shield as well, which is a very highly competitive game against Man City. So it was a pre-season of tough games. And, but there was a build-up to it. Nuremberg, then went over to America. Then was it Man United first?
Yep.
Then we played Chelsea, right? Is it Chelsea? Or was that season before?
No, I think it's season 4.
That was the season before.
We're talking about the beginning of this season.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we went to pre-season,
United.
We played the All-Star team first.
That's right. All-Star team.
And then we played United, and then we played Barcelona.
We
lost to United, and we absolutely hammered Barcelona.
We absolutely hammered Barcelona
in the SoFi Stadium, and then we won on penalties. I think against Seville.
Yep, in Emirates Cup.
In the Emirates Cup, and then we beat on penalties City.
Yeah.
In the Charity Shield.
5 games, 5 competitive games. Actually, no, Nuremberg.
Yep.
United.
I think that game was a draw, 1-1.
Yeah, United.
Well, the All-Star game we won
Barcelona,
5-0.
All-Stars.
All-Stars 5-0. United, I think we lost 2-1.
Yep.
Barcelona we beat 5-2.
Yep.
Seville we drew, I believe, 1-1 and then 1-out on penalties.
And then Man City.
Man City 1-0.
6 games.
Yep.
6 pre-season games. At the moment, there's only 2 listed for Arsenal. I do think they'll probably will do an Emirates Cup now that we know we're not going to be in the Charity Shield, right? So you get a couple of games out of that, but there was more games last pre-season.
Yeah, and they're talking about another game in the US, but possibly not maybe at closed doors. But that doesn't sound like it should.
I mean,
if they're going over to the US, why would you play behind closed doors? But then it's the same. This is not an unprecedented situation.
It's not. But
this is what you have to get used to.
It's very true. But I just liked the fact that last year we were so well prepared. We were so well oiled. We were looked so fit. So when we went into that first game of the season, we went into it flying. This season, thinking, listen,
we didn't quite.
How's it going to affect things?
I think the first game of the season was Nottingham Forest, and we won 2-1 against a pretty poor Forest team.
Yeah, but we were still, I as I said, it's just a little bit worrying for me, just for preparation-wise, right? Same for a lot of teams, but preparation-wise, slight, because we were so well prepared last year, and with how the margins are so tight, you need to get off to a winning start and you need to get off to a winning run.
Yeah, so a lot of it comes down to, as I said, next Tuesday, 9 o'clock, who have we got the first few games?
Yeah, a lot of it is going to come down to that. On the Euros, of course, at least we've got a couple of, Arsenal players in that England set up to get behind. Saka, of course, who's been ever-present for England, and also Declan Rice. You'd expect those two, unless they're injured, to start every game.
Yep.
And now Ramsdale's there, but he'll be on the bench. But how good is it to have 2 Arsenal players really sort of spearheading England's chances of winning the Euros? And how good would it be for those players if England actually won the Euros? Does that make them come back even better players?
Yes. Because I think both of those players, you look at the mentality of both of them, and they're pretty grounded characters. They're not going to sort of suddenly think, well, we've won the Euros, therefore we're where we want to be, and get carried away with it. I think what they're going to be like is, if they get the taste of success, they're going to even want more of it, be even more determined when they come back and play the real games for Arsenal.
Yeah, they've got any chance, England?
Well, according to the bookies, they're the favourites, the one I looked at.
Bookies, right, bookies.
Well,
England are always the favourites of these tournaments.
Yeah, because the book, I've been looking at the odds in this country, and they know that the majority of people are going to put a flutter on England, not specifically because of they're looking at all the statistics, because it's England and they want to back their home team. So you're quite right. But you look at England's team, England's squad, and this has always been the case, that you think they should be winning these tournaments, because I think they've got the best players. Now, I spoke to someone today and they thought the reason why England always foul is because of the rivalries that the clubs have, that they can't quite get over the rivalries. You don't get this togetherness.
Yeah, that was the case. That was the case when they used to have, Gerrards and people like that.
They used to have the Man United camp, didn't they?
Yeah.
And the Liverpool camp.
Yeah.
And they didn't, when they had their lunches, they'd sit on their own tables and not really integrate. But from what you can see of the England camp now, it's it's a far more harmonious place.
It is a far more harmonious place. Who are you thinking for the Euros? Who do you think's going to win that?
I'll always think England.
Yeah.
I
Why?
Don't,
Back it up.
Because they've got the best players.
Have they?
I believe so.
What about Portugal?
Yeah, they've got good players, but I think the England players are better. And the other thing is,
Portugal have got a great squad.
They've got a great squad, but I think the England players are better. And also, if you look at England's performances and where they've come in the last few tournaments since Southgate took over, I'm not saying that they play the best football and they still haven't won anything, but they've come so close.
Let me get the Portugal squad up here, because, when we say England have got the best, are you just saying that off the cuff? I mean, some of the players in Portugal's team. Let me see their squad. For Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, he used to be one of the best players in the world.
Still up there. Even at 39, can still do a job.
Look, he's a phenomenal talent for his age. But where's he been playing for the last few seasons? What level of football has he been playing at? And at 39, even someone of his fitness levels. I know from as I've got older, however fit I've tried to get, it just becomes harder and harder.
You're not exactly Cristiano Ronaldo,
no,
are
but
you?
I'm also a few years older than him. And it is tough, but I've gone through what he's gone through, and it's not going to. I'm not saying he's not a phenomenal player still, but he's not going to be at the levels Cristiano Ronaldo was 10 years ago.
Let me give you some of the players in their defence, right? So, first of all, goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Diogo Costa, who've also been linked with, by the way.
Yeah, he was the one that was he the one that played for
Porto. Yeah,
good
keeper,
good.
Very good keeper. Jose Sarr of Wolves.
Yep.
And Rui Patricio of Roma. Those are their three keepers. So they've got three good keepers there. As good as our keepers, would you say? Then we've got defenders, right? I'm not going to go through all of them. Here's a few of them. Danilo, who was the PSG, good player. Dallo, Manchester United, the right back, very good player. Gonçalo Inácio, who's a player that lots and lots of clubs are looking at the moment at Sporting. João Cancelo, formerly of Manchester City, now Barcelona. Nelson Semedo, Wolves. Nuno Mendes, Pepe is in there. Remember he did well for Porto against us.
He was a centre half. He was a dirty centre half.
Very dirty. And Ruben Diaz, Manchester City.
Yep.
He's captain sometimes. Very good defender. And very good centre back.
And they're all good players. And I'd back it up with one fact on here, because you can say that those players are better than the England players, and that's an opinion. And I can totally understand why. So when I said England were favourites, you kind of scoffed a little bit about that.
No, you said they've got the best squad.
Well, but I also backed it up by saying that when you look at the odds, that in England, the odds for England to win the tournament are...
Yeah, but you said they've got the best squad, and that's why I'm running through the squad, right?
They are the favourites. But if you look at what the bookies have got Portugal in, I think they're 5th or 6th favourites.
All right. Maybe the bookies are wrong, I think, man. They're midfield. Bruno Fernandes, United. Top player. Right?
He's poor attitude.
João Neves, Benfica. He's the kid that all the clubs at the moment are looking at. He's got this £110 million release clause, been linked heavily with a move to Arsenal. João Paulinho of Fulham. We like him. Good player. He's a very solid defensive midfielder. Otavio of Al Nassr over here in Saudi. Ruben Neves, of course, he used to tear it up in the Premier League for Wolves. For now at Al Hilal, and Vitinha, who's a very good midfield player who plays for Paris Saint-Germain. Good player. And then up front, Bernardo Silva, Manchester City. Cristiano Ronaldo. Diogo Jota, Liverpool, great player. Francisco Conceição, remember him for Porto? He was good.
Yeah.
He was the son of the
son.
Yeah, the son of the manager.
A right winger, if I remember rightly.
Gonçalo Ramos of PSG, João Felix of Barcelona. I remember he was at Chelsea on loan. Pedro Neto, who we'd all love to see at Arsenal, and Rafa Leao, who's a very good player.
Milan on the left wing.
Yeah,
been linked with him as well recently.
Yeah. Tell me that's not a great squad.
It is a great squad, and I think you're convincing me to now go and maybe have a flutter on Portugal. Because if they're at longer odds and you're correct, then they're the best bet.
Great squad. So, when you say England should,
No, I mean, you asked me who I thought would win it. I think England.
About time we won with these big tournaments.
Yeah, and we have come close. But then, I've been to 2 finals of the Euros, and the first one I went to in 2016, I actually saw Portugal win it, and they were very much the underdogs against France. So they're in with a shout, and if they're wide enough odds, it might be a sound investment.
But those, I think you get all of our players, are going to have a great time there. But a lot of our players have got a chance. Havertz got a chance with Germany.
Look, you can
home tournament.
Germany have always got a chance. However poorly Germany seem to play, they've got a knack of winning things, and it's on home soil. So,
and we saw with the Euros when they were over here.
Yep.
The 2 times we've got like far into these tournaments was when they were played here.
Yep.
In the Euros, right? And so home advantage makes a big difference. Did for the women as well. They won the Euros. That could make a difference. We've got Trossard, Belgium. That's another team that I think are a bit of sleeping giants for this tournament. No one's giving them a chance, but they got Trossard, they got De Bruyne, they got Lukaku, they got all these players. A bit aging, I guess, but still a lot of quality throughout that team. Jorginho could go far down into the tournament with Italy. They won it last time. They're the holders.
Yeah. France,
Saliba, all right.
Yep.
He's not starting at the moment, but I expect him to go far down into the tournament.
He played in the last friendly. I mean, for some reason, the manager doesn't rate him. He's come out publicly and say that. But
right, I didn't say he didn't rate him, but he doesn't rate him as highly as some of the other players that are ahead of him, which seems weird.
Yeah, it seems weird to us. Seeing Saliba week in, week out, I don't see that there can be a better centre-half in the world at the moment.
In the world?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
I just think he's got absolutely everything. Everything you'd want from a centre-half, he has. And he's so young. So, whoever these French guys are that are getting in ahead of him, wow.
Upamecano, they've got Canate from Liverpool.
Well, for me, Saliba's far better than Canate.
Yeah, but it's a big tournament for our players, man. Big tournament for our players. And who's going to win it? Oh, you said England.
Yeah, so I think England.
Dark horse for the tournament.
What, England? Well, they're favourites.
Well, they're going to win it and dark horse?
Oh, okay.
Who's your dark horse?
I think there's always a team. I think Denmark.
Okay. So you think Denmark and England will get out of the group?
Yeah, I think that Denmark will get out of the group.
Not so.
And once you get into that round of 16, then anything can happen. So that's where I see that. I'm pretty certain Denmark will get out of the group.
Denmark
and from there, I think that they've got a chance. And also, I always remember that I think it was '92 when Denmark wasn't even in the competition and ended up winning it. So I've always got, and John Jensen scored about the only goal he's ever scored, apart from the consolation against QPR.
Oh dear. You know what? Let's take a look at the groups, right? And you tell me the 2 teams that you think will get out of each one of these groups. So we've got Group A, which is Germany, Scotland, Hungary, and Switzerland.
Right. Well, I don't know much other than you said Germany. So Germany for me have got to be a banker. I don't know much about the other teams, but I know enough about Scotland to know that they won't. So I'd say Switzerland, especially if they've got Granit Xhaka playing.
Yep. So Germany and Switzerland.
Yeah.
Group. I can't disagree with you there. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think Scotland will get out of Group either. Group B, Spain, Croatia, Italy, and Albania, dubbed the Group of Death.
Yeah. Well, apart from Albania, I mean, Albania are 800 to 1 to win the tournament.
Yeah.
So you've got to say that.
But Albania will have huge support over there. There's a lot of Albanians who live in Germany. They've qualified well. They might shock a few people. I'm not saying they ain't going to win it, but you never know. They could be.
For me, Albania aren't getting out of the group.
Okay. It's a tough group.
So I would name them again, the other 3?
Spain, Croatia, Italy.
I couldn't call that one. Having seen Croatia play in the last few years, I've been really impressed with them. Really impressed. So
Spain's getting out of it.
I couldn't call that one.
I think Spain and Italy.
You'd probably go with Spain and Italy for historic reasons.
Yeah.
But Croatia are a good team. So I couldn't call that one.
All right.
It's 2 of those 3.
Group C, Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, England.
Well, I've already said England and Denmark.
Group D, Poland, the Netherlands, Austria, and France.
Okay, Netherlands and France.
Yep. Group E, Belgium, Slovakia, Romania, Ukraine.
Name them again.
Belgium, Slovakia, Romania.
So Belgium, yes, I'd say they'll go through.
Slovakia, Romania,
winners.
Ukraine.
I'm gonna be. I don't know enough about any of those teams. I mean, all I know is Ukraine and Zinchenko. So I'd say him purely because it's Zinchenko.
And Group F, Turkey. That by Turkish.
Yep.
Georgia, Portugal, and the Czech Republic.
Portugal. Having watched Turkey with Turkish a few times, I could never think they're going to go through. Whenever we watch them, they would just lose. Unless they've improved massively.
They have improved.
Well, then I'd say Turkey because they're a real footballing nation.
That's a tough group to call. It's got to be Portugal, and I'll go Turkey, but wouldn't surprise me if the Czech Republic, even Georgia, got some good players. They've got some good players, Georgia, who are playing in Serie A and things like that. So, okay, so that would be your groups. You heard it from Julian. He's going Portugal and Turkey. He's going Belgium and Slovakia. He's going Poland and the Netherlands, Denmark and England, and what do you go to first one? Croatia and Spain.
Yeah. Are you going to any of the games?
In the first group, Group A, you've gone Germany and Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm hoping to get to a couple of games. Maybe I might go to the game next week. England versus Slovakia, I think it is. If not, I'll get out to the last group stage game. And if England get beyond that, then I hope to be able to be at some of those other games, round of 16, quarterfinals, etc., etc. But come on, England, man. I'd love to see him do it. I'd love to see him do it, and Saka and Rice be the guys that lead the way. I think it'd be good for their morale. It's good for our players. A lot of people, when they say about, but do you really care? I care about tournaments.
Yep.
Number one, I support England. I wanted to see them do well. But also, I want to see our players at Arsenal do well. And as I said, I've been to other tournaments. We didn't even have a player there. So it's great to see.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 11 of them there.
Yeah. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to back England as well.
All right. So in the Copa America, because we've got two other players there.
Yeah. Copa America. Ooh, that's a bit more tricky now.
All right. So do you want to see Brazil win it and then our two players get a winner's medal?
Yes.
Okay. Me, no.
No?
No.
Why?
Because I want to see them back earlier. I mean,
Club v country.
Pardon?
Club v country, eh?
Well, club v country, but...
Or is it, it's not your country, so you don't care?
It's not my country, for a start, so I have no great affiliation. I want to see what's good for them, and I'll enjoy seeing them happy. And I think most people...
Yeah, be happy if they win it then.
Yeah, most people will always enjoy watching Brazil play. There's a certain finesse about Brazil. Almost everyone's second team.
My second team in that Copa America is Jamaica.
Okay.
Because they're actually in it. So you're actually in for the first time there.
Okay, but a lot of people love me.
Yeah, Brazil,
Yeah, when Brazil would play their friendly, there was a while that Brazil were playing friendlies at the Emirates, when the Emirates first time. I'd always go and see Brazil.
Yeah, so did I.
The atmosphere was great. It was just enjoyable. You'd always love seeing them play. But from an Arsenal perspective, I think for all the positives of them winning it and they're on a high, it would be better off for Brazil to lose every game and then coming back early. And the thing with...
You don't want England to lose every game?
I don't want them to, because for the tournaments, and I've been to a few England games, and I really enjoy the tournaments. I really enjoy them. And when England progress, there's a certain atmosphere in the country.
Yeah,
and
brilliant for the country.
There's a feel-good atmosphere. There's a bit of a carnival.
Yeah.
People are out. You go to the pubs and the clubs, and it's just on the street. It's enjoyable, and I like that part. But the other part of me cares, and I've always been honest about this. I'm an Arsenal fan before I'm an England fan. So I enjoy England. It's almost like a holiday. And I enjoy the atmosphere. And I've got whipped up back in, I think, 1990. I was very despondent when England lost to Germany. 96 at the Euros, I was really despondent when England lost to Germany on penalties. But in recent tournaments, I haven't been as upset. I went to the final, the 2020 final, and I really enjoyed the experience. Other than nearly dying getting in there with all the aggravation that was there.
Yeah.
But the actual to be able to say that you've been to watch England in a final, in a major final at Wembley, was brilliant. And the atmosphere, apart from a few 100,000 idiots there was about 1 million people there, at Wembley that time, was phenomenal. And I'm really glad that I had that experience. But the despondency afterwards for when England didn't win it is nothing compared with what I feel when Arsenal don't win a major competition.
I think I've heard
and I think what's better for Arsenal is for England not to progress too far, and then the Arsenal players to come back. And every single team that has an Arsenal player in, especially the ones that are integral to us, like Germany, I want Germany to go out and not win a game, especially. I want Havertz back.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see England win it because I think it raises the game of our star players.
All right, so the conflict is Arsenal go all the way. You look at the precedent of when England went all the way in 21. And Saka didn't play that first game, and we lost that first game, and Arsenal were ill prepared. So what do you choose?
Yep. That's the conundrum, is club versus country. Who are you picking? Whether it be the Copa America, so you could be Brazilian, you could be Argentinian, you could be Jamaican, you could whatever. You could be the Euros. Who are you picking? Do you want your country to win? Or would you sacrifice that and say, I just want my players to come out with no injuries and just be back ready to go for pre-season? I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. Club or country, what should come first? Yeah,
I mean, me personally, I really want to see every Arsenal player on the 13th of July at Boreham Wood.
Is this club for you?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Julian says club. What do you guys say, club or country? We've reached the end of the show today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Lee will be back in the hot seat next week. Well, he'd probably be burning it up. Yeah. You know what I mean, he'd probably still be on a sun lamp or something like that, even when he comes back. But Lee will be back in the hot seat with us. Julian, thank you. Always a pleasure. Get over that cold you told me you had at the start of the show. And guys, don't forget, we will be back next week and right throughout the Euros, keeping you up to date with everything that's happening there. Check out our channels, and also Transfer Daily has now started and is out every single day. So check out the content on there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. The Invincible podcast. Myself, Robbie, and Lee Judges come together once a week to discuss all things Arsenal. Straight talking, considered discussion, brought to you by the fans of the only club in Football League history to go invincible.